Hello. Welcome to the AV Life. My name is Murphy Daly. I'm Director of IT Project Management, AV veteran, and author for the Rave Publications. You are joining us for the AV Life.
James King here, writer for the Higher Ed Digital Magazine, the IT and AV column, and you are watching and listening to the AV Life.
And I'm your host, Tim Van Wert, coming at you from the frigid basement of my house in glorious New Jersey. And yes, that's why I'm wearing my classic Rutgers night helmet hoodie. And you are watching and listening to the AV Life. Yes, it is. No, you know what? I'm just kicking off the weather. Actually, we're supposed to be getting like a really cold blast of like Arctic air here in New Jersey. So it's gonna like fall down into the single digits this weekend. So
Oof, that's crazy.
yeah.
Now, out here in Vegas, we actually it's big out here. So some areas actually got snow that they haven't gotten in a long time.
Whoa.
Now,
Wow.
like I was talking to one guy, he was saying he's been living here for 3 years and he lives over by this one set of mountains. And he was saying that in the 3 years he's been here, the one mountain close to his home, the tip would get snow on it. He's like, this is the first time he saw all the mountains by his house have snow on it.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
really cool.
and now my area didn't get any snow, but it was nice sitting outside and looking at the mountains, and we're all covered in snow.
You brought the snow to Vegas, James. That's what happened.
It could have been me, but also there's been a lot of transports here, and like one of my daughter's teammates, they're from Chicago,
Oh,
so they might have
that
brought the snow.
that lake effect snow. That's the heavy duty stuff.
Yeah.
All right. And how is it out by you, Murphy?
Well, let me tell you, you wake up in the morning
Mm-hmm.
and my decimated lawn, which has been decimated because there was a drought last year.
Mm-hmm.
There may still be a drought as far as the politicians are concerned, but it rained like nobody's business earlier this year. So we've got big green tufts of grass and a little plain in the middle of brown dead grass in my backyard. But the little patch of grass, it's got frost on it.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. You know.
I guess if Joe Way was back and not in Barcelona, he would not be on his boat. That's a little. I feel like if there's frost on the ground, that means no boating.
Just in the morning.
It's Joe. He would find a way to be on his boat.
Find a way. He'd rig out some kind of heated wire situation.
No,
but yeah,
that's true.
Happening.
All right.
Good morning.
Joe would be making fun of us for talking about the weather.
Yeah, well.
While riding his boat.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. He would. But yeah, we're here with another episode this week of the AV Life. Hope you all had a great week this last week. Excuse me.
Refer back a little bit to higher ed. Not exactly higher ed, but it's getting close to higher ed. My daughter went to another presentation about how to take the best classes in high school last night, which is, whoa, my daughter's going to be in high school.
Yeah, it's that first step. And then the next ones are how to prepare yourself for college. And yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to jump ahead of you there, Murphy, but
it's coming.
Well, that's the problem. One of the many problems is I don't think they prepare kids for college because how they are preparing them is incorrect. Like you notice, like, I don't know about you, Tim, but or Murphy, but when I went to school, like high school was you sit down, you shut up, listen to the teacher, all for grade school, and then you get to college and the teachers sit there and go, "Why are you guys sitting there and not talking?" You spent 18 years of your life being told to sit down, shut up.
It's not going to be my daughter's problem.
Well, that's the thing. My dad was the one that basically told me, because my school didn't, not that it didn't prepare me for college, but when I got to college, I was expecting the professor to like really drive the conversation about things and teach us. But then my dad was like, well, when you get to college, like it switches gears. Like it's more about you teaching yourself and then having the professor there as a guide. And that
Yep.
was something I had to learn with that. My first semester, freshman year, was not pretty. It was a steep decline with a really quick increase because it was like I had to fix things midway through the semester. So a lot of tutoring stops, locking myself in my room and just making sure I got things done.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like I said, I do think grade school could do a better job at preparing kids to enter college. But unfortunately, I even feel universities and college have I hate using the word dumb, but dumbed down their standards of acceptance to let people in just to reach enrollment numbers. Because I feel there are kids who are in college who probably shouldn't be in college. I mean, I've seen this across the nation, and there's nothing wrong with not going to college. And I'm all for higher ed. I'm a big one for always learning, but it's not for everyone.
No, you and me both, James. Like I'm the biggest supporter of higher ed because I mean, clearly you and I are both involved with HETMA and higher ed AV and very much in our vertical. But yeah, like there's a need for the skilled tradesmen and women. It's like I made sure I was trying to be correct there.
No, I wasn't even thinking about that. I'm agreeing with you. There is a need
Oh.
for skilled
Yeah.
workers of all genders. And there was do you guys know about Temple Grandin? She is a famous professor, PhD, who is famously is autistic and has written about the autistic experience. But she developed a way for animals to be processed for slaughter in a more humane way, because she was looking at, like, from the perspective of an animal, basically, because she had this autistic perspective. She could kind of see how, like, animals are particularly sensitive to lights and different sensory inputs in ways that were familiar to her. So she could see kind of things the way animals did. But more so, she also didn't go straight into being a professor. It's like she didn't go to high school and then college and then master's degree and then doctorate. She stopped and she was working at her relative's farm that processed animals for meat. And then after she got good at helping them, she ended up going through and becoming a professor. But she in this particular interview that I just listened, she was saying, we are so fragile because we don't have the knowledge for the people, for the right people, the people who don't necessarily think, hey, last time we talked about books, right? I'm all about books. Not everyone is. That's okay. There are some people that are masterful at, like, seeing how things connect. Many of our AV people are. Many, like the audio and the line, they just kind of see and they put it all together. They don't talk about it necessarily, but they know. And I so respect that. I respect the people who have the knowledge, and we got to have those people.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And going back to talk about Temple Grandin, the movie with Claire Danes. So if you're looking for a good movie, that is also, I saw it like once or twice, but it was really good. And Claire Danes does a very good job of portraying her. And because I seen interviews as well, Murphy, with her in real life, and then how Claire Danes kind of pulled it all together. So yeah, if you're looking for one of those inspirational type movies, if biographies are your thing, there you go. And it's named Temple Grandin, so it's very simple to remember.
Yeah.
And
have you heard of her, James?
No, unfortunately, I have not heard of her. But something I'll have to look into.
Yeah.
You learn something new every day.
Yep.
Always be
Oh,
learning.
and yes, exactly. And as Murphy was alluding to, and I'm taking this as a segue. Um, some people are readers and some people are not. And I know last week we had talked about some of our favorite books and things like that. And I was going to pick up Watchmen and pick that up again. But actually what I did is I took something a little bit more leadership appropriate. So
Okay.
I was kind of going
Or grown
after
up.
more grown up, yes.
More adult.
More adult. And actually it's a book I've had in my possession for 3 years. It's The Perfect Mix
Oh.
from Dr. Helen Rothberg, and subtitled Everything I Know About Leadership I Learned as a Bartender. And
Oh.
she was the keynote speaker at CCUMC's annual conference, or now ETC, in 2019, up in Marist. So I happened to be in attendance. Everybody got a copy of the book for being there. And so I started reading it, and it's very interesting because she was a bartender in New York City. So it's familiar to me because I know the blocks that she's talking about and what the relationship is to like those specific areas, and how she's equating just the simple things about being a bartender and what it takes to lead and to give yourself the drive you need to succeed. And I've started going through, and I actually have a paper book, and I'm let me see if I can get this to work right. Oh, nope. This is not gonna work. Oh, there it is. There it goes. So I started circling things that I like wanted to remember and things like that. So that's what I like about paper books. I know maybe some people call it sacrilege, but I like marking up my books because so that way if I need to flip back through later and I can find it. So
You can do that with Kindle too.
You can.
And you can
you can do
delete
on
it
Kindle?
if you don't want it anymore.
You know what you can do on Kindle, James?
What?
This is really cool. If you highlight something in Kindle, and if you use your phone to do it, you can tweet the highlight.
Oh yes, I've seen that.
Yeah,
I did
really
that with my
awesome.
iPad one time.
Yeah, and it makes you look really smart because it tweets like this little highlight, and people can see what you're reading, and maybe they'll get excited and read it with you.
Yeah. And speaking of taking advice from Murphy and stuff, I finished the Art of War last night.
Nice.
So I was like, all right, I got to prepare my next book, getting that in the queue. So I actually got a library book for the Kindle. So
awesome.
My next book is coming. I was like, let me give this a shot. I even tagged you on my post on LinkedIn about it.
Did you? Oh, I didn't see that. Yeah. That's awesome. I'm so happy.
I will say, so James, I was trying to do your 10 minutes or 10 pages a day. I did not do that. I got 20 pages into this book. So I'm starting off slow, but I'm getting there. So
gotcha.
And it's also not very long. So that's why I started with something a little simpler. So
no, that's
it's
good.
Grown up. It's easy grown up.
So that's one thing I've learned from one of the books I've read was setting small achievable goals. Like, everyone wants to do these big goals, which are great. You can get your plan to do your big goals. You want to become a better leader, but a lot of times also set up small goals. So like you find those small achievable, like ones you can do within a month. Like, for example, my first January, like I want to set up certain goals. I did things that like, they kind of seem simple, but you push yourself forward and you get them done. And now that builds up, especially like if you're looking at professional development. Like one of the ones, I'll admit, I did not get it done for January because work got too busy, but I wanted to get my level 2 Dante cert. So I was like, I can do that in January. But what the book was talking about, like you do that professionally, and you in 6 months you have really increased your skills instead of going, oh, I want to be certified in 20 things by 6 months. It's like
Mhm.
every month I'm going to hit a new one.
Mhm.
And so I've actually done what I'm doing for work stuff, and I'm actually doing some personal ones too. Like I started the month of February. I want to walk. I mapped it out. I can walk my complex a mile. 3 laps around my complex is a little over a mile. I was like,
Mm.
I'm aiming for 14 miles for the month of February. So that's 14 days. That's half of the month going out and walking for about 20 minutes. So that's my personal goal for February. We'll see what happens at the end of February. If I exceed it, even better.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I like small achievable goals, and it's actually it's funny. It's kind of like we're coming up with a PM minute on the fly here. It's a group think here on the for a PM minute. Um, and I think that's something that you could very easily work into projects as well. I mean, what else is you developing yourself than project managing your own self?
Okay, I'm going to tell you something just a little. I am a PMP, right?
Yes.
That's a
Mm-hmm.
certification. And in order to keep your certification, you have to take continuing education credits. Personal development units, they call it PDUs. Same thing for the CTS. You have to
Yep.
either
The
get the
RUs.
next one or keep
Yep.
going. And that's what they do at Infocom. And many a PMP has lost their PMP because they don't do the PDUs. And I'm like, aren't you proving you can't manage your own projects if you can't keep your, because it gives you 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I actually just finished a year early all my ones, and I'm deciding whether I should re-up it now, or I don't know. It's like $100 or $150. I'm like, do I pay it now? Do I pay it later?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
So,
but yeah, so it's managing your own life. You got to stay
mm-hmm.
on top of it. In
Yep.
these PDUs, it's not hard. Well, I figured out a system. Surprise.
Mm.
So I
You a
keep on it.
system? No.
But then I know
No,
some people are
never.
like, oh, I'm going to spend a whole weekend and pay thousands of dollars to go. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Okay. You can do
This
continuing education with podcasts and other things.
this topic is very timely because
Mm-hmm.
actually today, at work we actually had, like, our HR department does, they're starting like professional development things, and so I signed up for a bunch of them, and one of the ones today was how to set goals and achieve them.
Oh.
Now, a lot of the stuff I already learned from taking my MBA classes and books I've read, but it was a good refresher of how to, like, you know, how to actually set goals correctly and achieve them.
Let me add on to that a little bit. Honestly, earlier I shared with you some things going on in my own life, and this is a big challenge for goals. This right here, when you have uncertainty and you don't know. This also happened. Well, this also happened in COVID. Early COVID, people are like, what are we gonna do? You had to act as if the plans you were making were gonna work, and go, okay, we're gonna make these plans and set things in order. And even if something happens that knocks it over and sends it in a different direction, it's better to make plans and keep something moving than to go, I don't know.
Yep. Always be evaluating your goals.
Well, I'll always be evaluating, but what I mean is even in times of uncertainty, that is really tough. Having the brass ones to be like, I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to act as if this plan will happen, and we're going to move forward along the way. And yes, evaluate along the way. Go like, okay, did all my plans that this was like dependent on this? Is this all going to crash? Like, did the supply chain not have that anymore? Okay, well, come up with like side plans for what to happen to remediate when things go wrong, but you can't not plan at all. which comes back to, yeah, start having some plans. Your plans to get monthly certs, James, that's good. Have a plan. And you know what? There's going to be a month when you maybe can't, or maybe there'll be a month when you do too.
Yep.
But if you didn't have a plan at all,
Yeah.
you wouldn't get any progress.
Yeah, it's like a
Exactly.
it's like a farmer preparing their land, with seeds and things like that. You're
There
preparing
might
for
be a
rain.
tornado.
You can't, yeah, but
You don't know.
there may be good rain that comes, so you need to prepare for the rain.
Also.
Like that's so
Yeah.
Right. So
yes.
sitting back and going, I don't know, I'm not sure, I can't tell, is certainly tempting. Certainly
Very.
tempting. But yet finding the vision to go, I don't know, but I'm going to act as if I do and move forward and make some progress. That's
And I think what you're talking about there, Murphy, is a good sign of a good leader. And you notice I'm talking about the word leader and not saying manager or boss, because those are titles. Leaders, you don't need a title to be a leader, but your actions make you a leader. And I think being able to do what you're talking about, Murph, makes somebody a better leader than someone who, as you say, sit back and go, oh no, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, because it takes intestinal fortitude. Like, I don't know, but I'm gonna pick a direction and go that way.
Yep.
Whew. Whew. Yeah. See where it goes. All right. I don't know, but I'm walk forward and keep it moving.
And to segue off of that, I think a lot of the folks in our industry are preparing and planning for the future and just moving along, even though we did have a step back as far as our industry growth because of COVID. I think and the graphs are showing that we are moving forward as an AV industry and we are growing.
Oh yeah. Segue number 2. Woo!
Segue number 2. Our wonderful crew member Kym Frank, the very talented actress and our AV adjacent supporter, provided us with a presentation from Solomon Partners that was given to a large media group that I'm sure she was a part of, which is why she got this presentation. And they have a graph that is from Avixa Research. It is sourced straight from them. That Pro AV represents $258 billion industry in 2022, and is expected to grow. All right, so this is where I fall short on my knowledge of what these things mean. CAGR. What does anybody know what that is? Because I feel so stupid that I don't know what that's supposed to be.
I used to know what that. I know we talked about that in one of my finance classes. I can't think of it what it's now.
It's something growth rate, and but anyway, it's a 7.2% growth rate. So I'm assuming it's because I'm looking at how this is
Consolidated
growing.
annual growth
Compound
rate?
annual growth rate.
Okay.
That's it.
Oh.
I could have probably
Got an
just looked
MBA
it
in the
up now
house.
that I think about it. That whole internet thing that we have,
That's what I did. Google.
Yeah. So 7.2%. So yeah, they're showing early estimates for 2022 are $258 billion. That's billion. And Joe Way always likes to point out is that higher ed is a very large chunk of that $258 billion industry. And we are going to grow very, very quickly. This year we have rebounded back almost to where we were in 2019. We're $1 billion short of where we were in 2019. But they're estimating by the end of next year this year, will be at $280 billion, as far as the of what we are buying, and I think if it wasn't for COVID, these numbers would be ridiculously high right now. And I think, and this is also against the supply chain issues that we've all been facing. I mean, I would hypothesize that these numbers would be even higher if some of our manufacturer friends were in, and this is, I'm not pointing at anyone in specific, this is affecting all of our manufacturer partners. If they didn't have these supply chain issues, I think there would be even more growth that's happening. I mean, that's my theory. If anybody has something counter to that, I am completely open to it. But
the one thing I have learned very early in my education is the great thing about numbers, you can make numbers say whatever the hell you want them to say.
I was just
Yeah,
going to
that's
say
true.
something about that.
Yeah. And so, I mean, yes, does this look like a good sign? I do think it's a good sign, but also you got to look at other factors. Let's also know that our manufacturers, because they're being transparent and they are sending information out, most of them, if not all of them, have what, a 20% price increase. So you may not be buying that same number of products, but you may be spending the same amount of money or more money for less product.
No, that's a good way of looking at it.
Less product.
Well, yeah, take inflation. That's a good point.
Yep, inflation is another look at. So, like I said, there's a lot of variables you have to look at, and another thing that we've heard this, and I would say it's, I guess, a well-known thing in AV industry, is we are late to the game, and that's good and bad. Late in the game because we're always slow to adopt to things, but the thing is, people are now buying things, so our revenues are going up, or all that stuff. Well, that's going to plateau, but it's not going to probably affect us for another 2-3 years. Where, like, we look at the tech industry right now with Google, Microsoft, all those places. The year of COVID, they were in a hiring frenzy. Now they're in a layoff frenzy.
Okay, you guys remember? I often remember Simpsons episodes as touch points of wisdom. Do you remember Disco Stew giving his chart of how disco is going to grow hugely? And he has a chart where he goes from like 1972 to 1979, and it's just sailing upwards. And that's the disco growth. So yeah, wherever you take that snip, it's like, yeah, well, right after, I believe 1979 or 78, disco fell off and died, right? So like where you take the snip. So I'm looking at these numbers. We've got 2019 actual numbers, 259 billion, I think. Yes. And then 2020 actuals, 2014, big fall. Unsurprising. Okay, 2020, COVID, fine. 2021 is the last actual that we have. That one is 232. Still not back up to 2019. 2019 was 259. 2021 was 232. So like 27 billion less than 2019. Okay, fine. But hey, this is 2023, right? Looking at 2022, they don't have an actual, they have an estimate. So what's that actual number going to be? We don't know yet. And even so, it equals out to 258, their estimate, which is still not back up to 2019.
Yeah.
And
my thing with that is, I would like, in a graph like this, I would like to see how 2022 or 2020 and 2021 estimate compared to their actual.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you need to see the estimate compared to the actual? Because we have actuals now.
Well, no, but so say like they estimated for 2021 at let's say 258 billion. That was their estimate, but it came out to 232.
Oh,
It shows that
Okay, to
their
see how accurate
estimating
their estimates are,
is
which
higher.
would
Yeah.
reflect on how accurate the future estimates are.
Yes.
right. So, I mean, yeah, so we'd have to wait and see. I'm sure probably in the next couple weeks, we would probably get the actual number for 2022. Because I'm sure right now everyone's
One would hope.
finalizing bills and taxes and all that
But-
stuff because we're at that time of year.
Yeah, so but they're saying that and I'm sorry, 2020 tanked. All right, fine. Then things started to rise up again. Okay. Not only did they start to rise up again, but all of the Zoom revolution, Zoom became a word that meant something more than just desktop video conferencing. It's not even desktop.
Or even
remote video
Mazda.
Yes.
Zoom.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but what that means is this thing that we're doing, which happens to be Zoom, but AV conferencing, AV teleconferencing, remote conferencing took off in a way that is huge. Like everybody, can we say grandmothers and kindergartners know about it? So yeah.
Yep.
AV conferencing should also boost up, but we're still not up to 2019. Even after that huge injection of people getting to taste it. So I'm like, I don't know.
Well, and here's the other thing is that I think I know Zoom for a while was offering more for their free package initially.
I missed that.
Yeah. So I mean that was more 2020, like kind of leading into 21, but
that was their loss leader. Good for them.
and then and now I'm sure now that it's become this is nice to have we need to have this. So yes, I think there was more of a software boom in that respect, but then yes, I think the hardware tanked a little bit. So that I agree, Murphy. I think that's what kind of made that, because if they both went, we would have like skyrocketed. If hardware and software both went up incrementally at the same time, that would have been huge. But yeah, because one kind of went and the other one went, okay. Yeah. So.
And that's another thing is, and going back to what I was saying, that as an AV industry, we're late to the game. I would not be surprised if the 2022 numbers and maybe even the 2023 numbers are high, like close to their estimate. But I would say the 2024 and there, I wouldn't be surprised if there's not a dip, because we're past that knee-jerk reaction that we have to put cameras, we have to put Zoom, you see everywhere, we have to do all this. We're past that knee-jerk reaction. We put the gear in, we paid for the gear. It's now everyone's reevaluating and going, okay, what do we truly need? And I think that's where we're like, I would say I'm thinking 2023 maybe, but more 2024. Those numbers, the actual numbers might probably be far less than their estimate. That's my guess. For
we're feeling suspicious.
Well, it's funny. I went into the presentation that Kym provided us. The slide that comes after the growth of across the general AV industry ranks the top 5 and departments that are seeing the highest growth rates, and actually the top one is live events with a 9% growth rate. they're going. It looks like their estimate revenue in 2022 is $30.7 billion in live events by themselves. Now, I think that number, like we were just saying, might be a little twisted this is for two reasons. A, because live events was like the last thing to come back, or come back as fully as it did. Because outside was fine, like big stadium things is like okay, but the inside arena live events were hard to come back to at first. And then the second thing is, based on personal experience of trying to buy tickets for some of these concerts, the pricing of tickets for concerts has become just absolutely insane. You know, between the whole Taylor Swift debacle and I tried to get tickets for Metallica, and I looked at it, it told me what it was, and I'm like, I'm not spending that money to go sit up in the nosebleeds of MetLife. Like that's just not what I'm doing. Like,
I mean, hell, my brother tried to get tickets to. I realized it was a big game and stuff, but the Eagles 49ers game, he tried to get tickets to that. He got in the queue. The queue opened at 10. He was in the queue at 10. Didn't get through until 11, and it was sold out in an hour. Who knows how many were bots? But
well, yeah. And apparently, like now, like the new thing is this surge pricing. It's like getting an Uber. It's like getting an Uber when everyone's leaving the concert. Like it's, it's like, oh, everybody wants these tickets. Okay, we're gonna charge an arm and a leg for that. It's like, and it's ridiculous. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad to see like certain parts of our industry doing very well, but there's things that like can be done to make that a little bit better. But I'm happy to see like digital signage is at 14.3 billion and they've got a 7% growth rate.
It's interesting that I can see.
Yeah, good.
I think outside and inside digital signage, I think is going to. I can see that continue growing, and a 7% compound. I think that might actually be accurate, because I think more and more people are relying on digital signage than other means.
Yes, I completely agree with that, and I believe that might include like the out of home advertising market as well. I'm thinking maybe I don't know exactly, or if that's talking about like small signage. So I don't know where this is where I need Kym to fill this in for us, because I don't know exactly what that encompasses. Like
that is true, and that's another thing is we don't know what it encompasses. And going back to my whole statement of numbers lie, for the longest time, like I took a criminal justice class, and we were talking about numbers and all this stuff. And the one thing that was really interesting, for the longest time, they would only, when a crime happened, they only recorded the most heinous part of that crime. So using this as a wild example, if you were assaulted, robbed, raped, and killed, or murdered, those are 4 different crimes, but only murder would be flagged and recorded. So it's the numbers of what really happened. And that's a whole nother thing, is a lot of these reporting things are voluntary. So people only report what they want to report, using the numbers to their advantage.
Right.
And that's for anything. Even these revenue things, I'm sure, are more voluntarily. Some of it probably is tax documents, but then again, a lot of that could be moved around to, are they account receivables? Are they account payables? And all that fun jazz.
Well, and if you want a more humorous side of talking about how the numbers work for how you want to see them, look up the comedian Don McMillan. He's the engineer turned comedian, and he's the one that does all the fun slideshow presentations and stuff like that. He totally rips on numbers and how statistics are, what you want them to look like, and things like that. It's hysterical.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so Don McMillan, and I should probably, maybe I'll try to tag him on Twitter when I put out this, and side note, as I'm looking here, I actually looked him up just to kind of get a little more information. He was actually part of the team at AT&T Bell Labs. So this is putting back a little bit, where he was part of the team that designed the first 32-bit microprocessor. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, little fun thing. Yeah, I love watching his stuff online. As a technology person, I relate very well.
I'm sure.
So, yeah. So yeah, so so going back, I am very, however you want to look at the numbers, I feel as if as a whole, our industry is doing very well. Whether the growth is 7.8% or not, I feel like there is growth that's happening. The one downside that I am seeing also right now, and it was mentioned in this presentation, we're losing the small integrator. More and more of the larger integrators are buying up the little ones, and it's happening across the board. It's happening everywhere, because they mentioned, I kind of did a quick cursory look at some of the other slides later on, and some of the out-of-home market groups are consolidating as well. So we're losing, not that there is something to be said for the smaller integrator. You get that you get that personal interaction, but they also don't have the resources to possibly give the pricing that some of us, like in higher ed, really like to have. So you're losing that personal touch, but at the same time, you're gaining possibly the purchasing power that we all would love to have. So yeah, that's a lot. It's just, I feel like there was a lot of numbers and things like that.
Yeah, you didn't tell me we were doing numbers today, Tim. My head hurts.
Yeah, I'm
now.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Kind of did, but you didn't read
Well,
the
yeah,
you didn't read the homework.
No, I didn't read that. That's what I get for not reading.
Well, I was encouraged. I was actually quite encouraged. I was like, oh, Kym posted something. Maybe she's going to join us tonight. And then I was like, no, wait a minute. She's got another weekend of shows this weekend. So
yeah, I was
I think,
thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh, cool, Kym's coming back, and we missed you, Kym.
yeah, she's wrapping up her performance of Clue at the Barn Theater in Montville. I believe this, as you are hearing this on Monday, they just put a wrap on it, I believe. Clue strike. Yeah, there you go. Yep. They're striking this week. They just struck the set. So they are done with Clue. So maybe we'll get her back in the coming weeks. And I would love to have Spence back as well. And we all hope that they're both doing well. We send messages back and forth, and we hear it from time to time, but I know you all would love to hear from them as well. So we are trying to get them back. Coming up this month as well, there will be as you're hearing this, it's now February. We will be doing our For the Love of AV episode, and we will be doing a HETMA takeover as the HETMA annual conference is coming up in the next couple of weeks. So if you're in higher ed and are interested to find out what's going on, you can join HETMA for free. Speaking of pricing and things like that, hetma.org, and bring your .edu email and sign up and join us for a lot of fun and a lot of good conversations and a lot of good topics. And I was just blocking out my time on my calendar for those days. So I will be around at the conference. Oh, virtually, obviously. It's all online. So yeah, don't worry. You don't need to go anywhere. We've been doing virtual before it was cool. So
Ooh, we made it cool.
Yep.
yeah, we made it cool.
That's what us higher ed folks do. We make everything cool.
Yeah. See, and that's one of the things we're not behind on. We were ahead on that. Like we knew this is what we needed. So yeah, and then so we'll get a bunch of the Hetma folks in for that, and that's going to be a great episode because we just can't stop. And Joe Way is going to have to make an appearance for that, so he won't be able to resist for that.
But now the question becomes, at that time, would he be a crew member or a guest?
Oh,
No, see that he has to be a guest. I have to put him in a guest mode for that because of his position within Hetma. So, and then that way I can run the show, and hopefully he doesn't shush me this time. So,
Oh, he will. No matter what role you put him in.
that's if he's. That's even if he bothers to shush you. Sometimes he just rolls forward.
Yeah, it's true. At least that time he did give me the courtesy of shushing me. So,
Yeah.
Right.
But we'll see. But yeah, look forward to all those conversations. Murphy, James, always a pleasure having you all here. So thank you for swinging by. We miss all of our crew members. We know everybody's traveling, between ISC and whatever the conference was in Texas that Renee was at. I don't remember what that was. And Nancy and Joe are over at ISC, and everyone's so busy, and life is crazy.
Life is crazy.
Life is crazy.
You just never know what to expect.
Mm-hmm. But we keep moving forward.
That's right. Still got to make plans.
Keep swimming.
Exactly.
Keep swimming.
Just keep swimming. Why is Disney so good for that stuff? Anyway, I don't want to get keep moving. Keep moving
that are good for that too.
There you go. Yes. So there are other books. Yes. But all right. So we're gonna close things up here tonight. Hope you all have a great week. And until our next adventure.